You got 3 years for me to run for re-election.
Good evening and welcome. I'd like to call to order the Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors business meeting Tuesday, August the 20th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Board meeting room at 39 Bank Street, Southeast, Chatham, Virginia. Ms. McCluster, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bowman.
Here.
Mr. Dudley.
Present.
Mr. Height.
Here.
Mr. Ingram.
Here.
Mr. Whittle.
Here.
Mr. Tucker.
Present.
Mr. Dalton.
Here. Moving to item 3, we're going to, if you will, join me in a moment of silence, and then we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Let's all stand, please.
Thank you all. Moving to item 5. Agenda items to be added. Are there any items to be added to the agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I have one.
All right, Mr. Ingram.
I'd like to add resolution number 2024-08-04, the Berry Hill Road naming to the agenda under new business is item 12A.
Okay, 12A. All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Ingram to add this to item 12A. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Tucker. Any further discussion? Not hearing any, we're ready to vote. Motion carries unanimous. Moving to item 6, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Tucker, second.
Second.
Better give that to Whittle.
Second, is that Mr. Whittle? All right. All right, second by Mr. Whittle.
Give it to him.
Any further discussion? Not hearing any, we ready to vote? Motion carries unanimous. Moving to item 7, the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Height, a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bowman. Any further discussion? None, we're ready to vote. Motion carries unanimous. Moving to item 8, we have presentations. Gentlemen, we'll move to the front of the board meeting room.
Mr. Tucker, you want this? Josh, I'll get him.
We got a captive audience tonight. Hey, nobody can go anywhere. Got the doors locked. We are here to recognize an individual tonight who's spent a majority of his life as a volunteer in this county. But before I present the county's resolution, I'd like to ask our State Senator Tammy Mulcahy if she would come and make a presentation for us at this time. Chief Neal, would you and your family be as kind to come down front? I am sure glad you brought your wife and daughter with you tonight, because that makes me having to look at you a whole lot easier.
Come a little closer. You make me look better too. I don't know about you, but your wife.
Well, thank you.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here today. So I live about an hour and 15 minutes from Pittsylvania County, but my mom lived in this area for a lot of her life, and she's 90 today. And I always, yes, congratulations to my mom. I always tell everybody that while I've been in Mecklenburg County my whole life, and my children went the other direction to school in Nottoway, and I know a lot of people that direction. I always feel so welcomed and at home when I come to Pennsylvania County. And anybody that knows me knows I don't know how to say this nicely, BS around. I say what I think, and I mean what I say, and I appreciate you all so much. I really do love Pennsylvania County, and y'all have been just like home folks to me. I'm a country girl, grew up on a farm, and y'all just always make me feel welcome and easy to talk to, and I hope you all will call me whenever you need me. But anyway, tonight we're here to recognize someone who's done an awful lot. So this is Senate Resolution number 632, commending Michael A. Neal, agreed to by the Senate July 18th, 2024. Oh, that was my birthday. Whereas Michael A. Neal, a distinguished member of Ringgold Volunteer Fire and Rescue, who has served the community as a firefighter for more than 54 years, retired as chief of the department in 2024. And whereas Mike Neal joined Ringgold Volunteer Fire and Rescue, then known as the Ringgold Volunteer Fire Department, at the age of 16, yesterday, following in the footsteps of his father, A. Calvin Neal, who helped establish the department in 1958 and served as its original chief. And whereas after he turned 18, Mike Neal was elected as assistant chief and earned a seat on the Ringgold Volunteer Fire Department's board of directors, where he has served the members of the department ever since. And whereas Mike Neal ably carried out his duties as assistant chief for 19 years, then was elected as chief in 1991, under his leadership, the department has responded to increasing demands for service, answering as many as 1,400 calls per year. And whereas Mike Neal has witnessed significant growth and change in both Pennsylvania County and in the firefighting profession. The Ringgold Volunteer Fire Department has originally made up of 3 stations in Ringgold, Kentuck, and Keeling, all of which have now become separate departments to better serve the growing community, and he presided over the adoption of the name Ringgold Volunteer Fire and Rescue after the departments began offering ambulance service. And whereas during Mike Neal's long tenure with the department, the price of a new firefighting apparatus has increased from approximately $20,000 to as much as $1 million, and he has worked diligently to ensure that his firefighters have the best possible equipment and training while maintaining the fiscal stability of the department. And whereas in addition to his legacy of service as a volunteer firefighter, Mike Neal fulfilled a long and successful career with the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company for more than 42 years, working in quality control, supervision, payroll, and upper management between 1974 and 2016. And whereas Mike Neal has also volunteered his wise leadership to the board of Pittsylvania County Sports Hall of Fame, the Dan River Community Ruritan Club, and the Pittsylvania County Fire and Rescue Association. Whew. And whereas after his well-earned retirement as chief, Mike Neal looks forward to spending more time with his beloved family, and he will continue to respond to calls for service and guide Ringgold Volunteer Fire and Rescue as a member of its board of directors, ensuring a smooth leadership transition and upholding the department's reputation for excellence. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of Virginia that Michael A. Neal hereby be commended on the occasion of his retirement as Chief of Ringgold Volunteer Fire and Rescue, and be it resolved further that the Clerk of the Senate prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation to Michael A. Neal as an expression of the Senate of Virginia's admiration for his legacy of service to the Ringgold community. Susan Clark Shar, Clerk of the Senate. Thank you for all that you've done.
All right, I'm still hanging. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We're not done yet. Might need to roll. Look, if we keep him standing up much longer, we'll need to roll that chair over here so you can sit down. Me. Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors, Resolution Number 2024-08-01. Resolution honoring Mike Neal's retirement. At the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors business meeting on Tuesday, October 20th, 2024 in the board meeting room, the following resolution was presented and adopted. Whereas after 55 years of serving with Ringgold Fire and Rescue, serving as its chief for more than 30 of those years, Mike Neal retired on June 30th, 2024. And whereas Neal's father, Calvin, was the station's first chief when the station was founded in 1958. His brother Barry served in the station, as did his daughter Stephanie and his stepson Walter Henderson and his nephew Joseph, which are all a part of the many awards and photos that grace the station's walls. And whereas Neal ran around the station as a toddler, began driving a fire truck at the age of 16, became the assistant chief, and was serving on the station's board of directors by the age of 18. And in 1991, while in his mid-30s, Neal was named chief. And whereas Neal is known as the king of the fundraisers, and from 1996 through this year, he has sold over $250,000 in raffle tickets, and the station has garnered between $32,000 and $38,000 per year from Brunswick Stew fundraisers. And whereas, along with the commitment to Ringgold, Neal also serves on the Pennsylvania County Hall of Fame Board, is a member of the Dan River Ruritan Club, served 3 years as vice president of the county's Fire and Rescue Association, and retired from Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company after 42 years of service. And whereas Neal and his wife Deborah are members of Ringgold Baptist Church, they have been married for 42 years. God bless you. And have 3 children, Stephanie, Walter, and Tara. Whereas Neal plans to remain on the station's board of directors and will continue to run fire and EMS calls. And whereas Neal has given unselfishly of his time and efforts for the county's betterment and is a faithful and loyal member of his community, and now be it resolved that the board express their sincere appreciation to Neal for his noble dedication of his time and efforts towards the development and advancement of the county in fire and rescue. Given under my hand this 20th day of August 2024, Eddie L. Height Jr., Dan River District, Darrell W. Dalton, Chairman, Caleb McCluster, Clerk, Pennsylvania County Board. Do we have any here tonight from the Fire Department, Board of Directors, anything would like to come up and take pictures with him? Mr. Folks,
I ain't gonna keep you but a minute. I figure between me and Jesse, 100+ years, we shouldn't keep you here no more than 4 or 5 hours, okay? If we get to talk a little bit. Now, I just want to say thank you, young lady, thank you for bringing that all the way up from Richmond and the County Board of Supervisors. Basically, the fire department, you know, you grow up and stuff in your life, and it's basically just been my second home, sometimes my first home. I know I put it above my wife and family. I know I put it above Goodyear, and I put it above my church a lot. Probably shouldn't have, but 55 years, I mean, that's all we saw was a fire truck, okay? They had the old homemade fire trucks. I know Jesse and some of them know what I'm talking about. And I remember me and Barry had sit over at Sellers Brothers shop on a cinder block when Daddy closed the store, and they went up there and worked on that homemade truck. And we'd sit on that cinder block about 11 o'clock at night. I was 8, 9 years old then. So that's pretty much all we ever saw. So it's definitely been my second home. I've had good support from my board people, my membership, support group. Got a great community that really supports that department down there, and that's where we're at today. So I'm proud to say I've been chief of that department 34 and a half years, assistant chief in 19, so that's 53 and a half. So just in closing, I was talking to Dean today, and I can remember, you know, in the young days, Jesse, I really remember about that far back, you know, 18, 20, 22, you know, we had fire association meetings and stuff, and I remember a guy named Landon Worsham, and I know some of y'all know Landon Worsham, and he probably was the longest tenuous fire chief in the county, probably 50+ years. He ran that Worsham's Appliance up on Main Street, and hundreds of times that man would shut his door at 11 o'clock in the morning, put a padlock on it, and go get a fire truck at Chatham and run a call. That's dedication. That's from your heart, okay? I remember guys like Bobby Campbell. I was going to mention Jesse Yates, and Jesse's here tonight. You know, when you was younger, sort of people you looked up at. Thomas Barker was my chief after Daddy and them for 19 years. And, of course, I've been there ever since. I've had great people. I got people with me. Bobby Lee's been 50+ years on the board and stuff. Christy Steve, that's my oldest daughter, retired. Of course, my pretty wife, Deborah. You don't forget to mention your wife, okay? You know, I really said I got to make sure I mention Deborah's name. I don't want to get in the doghouse going home. But anyway, and she's had to put up a lot with me and leaving the house and running and up all night. And I know one year Santa Claus came for my 3 kids, and I'd been on a fire truck since 5 that morning. I got home at 12 the next day. You miss my children seeing Santa Claus, okay? So anyway, again, I appreciate everything y'all done. I see Dean's here tonight, the president of the Fire Association. How are you, Dean? 58? 59. Me and Dean was talking. I had people say, man, hey, how do you run that thing so many years? I said, I don't know. Other than being crazy, it's just a long time. And Dean said, well, I'm 59. I said, well, after 11 more years from now, you be my age. I said, let me know how it's working for you, okay? So anyway, thank y'all so much, yeah.
Yes, sir. Come on. Are we good? Yeah, I'll go this way. Okay. That'll be good. Thank you. All right, Mike, we're going to save the best for last. I got Mr. Jesse Yates I'm going to recognize. Mr. Yates, you and your family, come on down. We're going to present you with a resolution also. The whole town of Groton will be fine. Yes, sir. That's just part of them here. Come on up in here. Appreciate you here, brother. Everybody come down here. Yeah, come on through here. We fine. Yeah, man, we good. We good. All right. Yeah, I was carrying on with Mike about being the best for last, but I tell you, both of these gentlemen here has been a great asset to Pennsylvania County. Mr. Yates here, I can't imagine how many calls he's run, and Mr. Neal back here also. But I'm going to brag on Jesse because he's in my district. But I remember one day I went over to Dairy Queen, a little store there on 40. Heard the fire truck coming. I pulled up in the parking lot and I looked. Mr. Yates come out the door, run down the parking lot and jumped on the fire truck and went to put that fire out. That's what you call doing something better than trying to eat. Yeah. I mean, he's dedicated. I've seen him. I mean, he's been out there and he's been such a great asset to the community, Groton Fire Department. And I'll say this, I truly believe being successful in life is not what you accomplish for yourself, it's what you do for others. And this man right here is being very, very successful. I mean, he has. And we appreciate you too. All right. Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors, Resolution 2024-0802. Resolution honoring Herbert Jesse Yates, 50 years of service to the Groton Fire and Rescue. Virginia, at the Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors business meeting on Tuesday, August 20th, 2024, in the board meeting room, the following resolution was presented and adopted. Whereas Herbert Jesse Yates, a lifetime Pennsylvania County, Virginia resident, joined the Groton Fire and Rescue Department, Groton Station, in August of 1974. And whereas at the time Jesse joined the station, phone was placed at his residence and each station member would sign up and answer the phones at night and on the weekends, where he chose Friday nights in the third week of the month answering the call of duty. And Yates kept this routine until the county implemented its 911 system in 1997. And whereas Yates answered approximately 300 fire calls per year and has been in the top 5 in his crew for calls response for more than 25 years. And whereas, along with the community commitment to Groton, Yates has battled wildfires part-time for the Virginia Department of Forestry, the county wildfire strike team, which took him many places to fight various types of fires, including a swamp fire in North Carolina and Virginia Beach, a 40,000-acre fire at the Continental Division in Montana and Mississippi after Hurricane Katrina in Florida, where his crew fought for 3 weeks to save a power line that supplied the entire state. And whereas Yates' family not only supported him through a number of years, but many of them decided they wanted to serve as well. And whereas Yates is a lifetime member of Gretna, and throughout his years of service, he held roles such as lieutenant, captain, assistant chief, and chief. He is still active at the station and helps as much as he can. And whereas Yates has given unselfishly of his time, efforts to the county betterment, and in a faithful and loyal member of his community, providing 50 years of invaluable service to the county citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board expresses their sincere appreciation to Yates' dedication of his time and efforts towards the development and advancement of the county fire and rescue. Given under my hand this 20th day of August 2024, Darrell W. Dalton, Chairman of the Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors, Kaylin McCluster, Clerk of Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors. Anybody else want to come up and take pictures? Everybody up here. Listen to me, other. Here you go. We'll roll this to the side. Roll that to the side, Mr. Bowman. Okay? We're going to bring the rest of it.
Next? Yes, sir. I don't know about the man of the hour, but all right. believe it's a wonderful thing to honor our citizens, and as we say in church, it's better to give those flowers while they live and they can appreciate them. And so kudos to all of those. Mr. Niels, congratulations. Mr. Yates, congratulations. Job well done. Credit to their communities and serving their fellow man. And now it's my turn to present a resolution which is probably overdue. It's been a long time coming. In Psalms 37, David pens the words that the steps of a good man or good woman are ordered by the Lord. And it says that he delighteth in their way, and that particular individual loves the law of the Lord. And then he goes on to say, I was once young, but now I'm old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor their seed begging bread. And Mrs. Dorothy Niels, would you join me, please, along with her husband, and then I'll get the Civic League down here, but this is probably, as I said, overdue. And I want people to understand that history is being made every day, and we have history all around us in this county. So this resolution is honoring Miss Dorothy Niels. At the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors business meeting on Tuesday, August 20, 2024, in the board meeting room, the following resolution was presented and adopted. Whereas Dorothy Mae Burden Niels, daughter of Mr. Irvin C. Burden and Veda F. Burden, and a lifetime Pittsylvania County resident, is president of the Dan River Blair Civic League, and whereas she graduated from Southside High School and continued her education at St. Paul College in Lawrenceville, Virginia, where she met her husband, Mr. Robert Niels. Whereas Mrs. Niels continued her studies at the University of Virginia, where she received her master's degree, and she taught in Pittsylvania County public schools for 39 years. That's right. Whereas Ms. Niels is a highly active member of the Bethel Baptist Church, where she started the first children's choir. She was the director of the senior choir for many years, serves as a deaconess, church clerk, missionary president, former Sunday school teacher, chairman of the history and floral committees, and a former member of the bylaws program and pastor's anniversary committees. You've been busy. Whereas Mrs. Niels is also an active member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, the Links Incorporated, the National Education Association, Virginia Teachers Association, Pennsylvania County Democratic Committee, Cherrystone Missionary Baptist Association Women's Division, and she has served as president or chairperson of the following organizations: AKA Sorority, Links Incorporated, Southern Area Agency on Aging, Pennsylvania County Electoral Board, and the first black female vice president of Pennsylvania County Democratic Committee. And whereas following in the footsteps of her father, who served over 50 years as the president of the Dan River Blair Civic League, Mrs. Niels became the president of the Dan River Blair Civic League after the death of Mr. William Pritchett in 2016. and has served as such for the past 8 years. And whereas Mrs. Niels is incredibly powerful, loving, and caring, and her leadership skills have been evident for many years, dating back to 1948, when Mr. Irvin Burden appointed her as the temporary secretary of the Dan River Blair Civic League at the young age of 15 years old. Yeah. Under her leadership, the Dan River Blair Civic League has grown to over 48 members, and whereas Mrs. Niels has given unselfishly of her time and efforts for the county's betterment and is a faithful and loyal member of her community, providing invaluable service to the county citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board expresses their sincere appreciation to Mrs. Niels for her notable dedication of her time and efforts toward the development and the advancement of the county, and might I add, of her people. Yeah. This is given under my hand on the 20th day of August in the year of our Lord 2024. Robert M. Tucker, Jr., Vice Chair of the Board, Darrell W. Dalton, Chairman, Kayla McCluster, the Clerk of Pennsylvania County Supervisors. Dan River Blair Civic League, y'all come on up here and stand with her. Oh, is there someone that had another presentation? Hang on just a second, Dan River. Let's get these presentations out the way. Okay, that's fine. This young lady has a presentation. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I'm on.
That's just some papers there. Taylor wrote for me also.
That's good. That's good. Okay, Miss Neals retired from Dan River High School. She's a government teacher, and I had the privilege of being in her government class. You know, seeds were planted many years ago to encourage this young fella to get involved, and I do appreciate the difference you made in so many students' lives. I do appreciate everything you do continue to do for our communities. And now I'd like to segue into the Dan River baseball team. If you guys that are here would come forward. Players, coaches. When guys, I wanted to recognize our Wildcat varsity baseball team this year. It's been quite a few years since I played on that field. We never had a team that had a good enough record to get recognized by the county. So now I get to recognize a baseball team from Dan River. The Certificate of Excellence, the Dan River Wildcats varsity baseball team had a remarkable season, finishing with an overall record of 12-12 and a regional record of 6-5, placing fourth in the district. Additionally, the team secured a thrilling 1-0 victory over Gretna to become Region C champs. The Wildcats then advanced to the state quarterfinals, where they edged out Central Wise with a 6-5 win, earning a spot in the state semifinals. There they competed closely against, y'all pronounce it, Pocosin, okay, high school, but narrowly lost with a score of 2-1. The Wildcats had a wonderful season. The Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors expresses its deepest congratulations and admiration to the Dan River varsity baseball team for these amazing accomplishments, and wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Given this 20th day of August 2024, Eddie Height, Dan River District, Darrell Dalton, Chairman.
I got it. Thank you. I told Mr. Dalton.
Yes, sir. I gotta remember where I left off.
That's right. Presentations, you're on hearing of the citizens.
I got it. Yeah, man. All right, moving to item 9, hearing of the citizens. Each person addressing the board on the hearing of the citizens shall be a resident, a landowner of the county, and a registered agent of such resident of landowner. Each person shall step up, give his or her name and district in an audible tone of voice for the records, and unless further time is granted by the chairman, shall limit his or her address to 3 minutes. No person shall be permitted to address the board more than once during the hearing of the citizens. All remarks should be addressed to the board as a body and not to any individual member thereof. Hearing of the citizens shall last for a maximum of 45 minutes. Any individual that is signed up to speak during said section who does not get the opportunity to do so because of the aforementioned time limit shall be given speaking priorities at the next board meeting. Absent chairman approval, no person shall be able to speak who has not signed up. Ms. McCluster, do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, sir. Kathy Ramsey.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kathy B. Ramsey, Bannister District. First, I would like to commend the Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors on the efforts made in continuing the support of the safety of the citizens throughout Pennsylvania County and in reference to the 640 Riceville Java Fire Department and the reinstated the EMS in the Bannister District. Also, any upcoming progress towards the 57 Bannister Bridge project is appreciated. I am here to voice a major concern in reference to the economic development in the Bannister District. The citizens have been encouraged to contact Bannister District representative to voice their concerns. My assignment before you this evening is to stand for the citizens and extend their voice to reinforce the seriousness and make a public awareness of the lack of economic development and investment in the Bannister District. The concern focused on this evening is citizens are aware of economic development in areas outside the Bannister District, and due to the size of the Bannister District, residents feel overlooked. As tax-paying citizens, equal consideration should be given when it comes to the growth and development of communities in Pennsylvania County. The concern that the citizens from the Bannister District have this evening is a need for a convenience market that will provide the citizens with convenient location to quickly buy a wide variety of consumable products. For example, food items include grab-and-go food service, beverages, personal care items, and gasoline in communities not close to major highways and 3-4 lane highways, but have a significant population and traffic flow. If there are plans for economic development to come to the Bannister District, the concern is, will it be accessible to the most populated and high-traffic communities? Citizens that do not live near neighboring towns or cities are at a disadvantage when it relates to a convenience market in their community. The Bannister District residents that are not close to Chatham, Gretna, Alta Vista, Hurt, and Danville express a feeling being underserved. Some Bannister residents travel to Halifax County for convenient market needs. And for example, if you leave Chatham 57 East, you have to go
30 seconds remaining.
all the way to Halifax. I'm going to skip some things. The Bannister District is comprised of Comparison to the data and demographics of adjoining districts in Pennsylvania County are similar to the main difference. Only difference is the location. The citizens are seeking knowledge on what they can do to be involved in bringing economic development to their communities. Working together and being as transparent as possible gives its residents
3 minutes is
assurance
complete.
their concerns are being heard and they are not being ignored and neglected. Thank you in advance for your time and considerations. The citizens of Pennsylvania County, Bannister District. Kathy B. Ramsey.
Thank you, ma'am.
Marie Sauser.
Welcome, ma'am.
Welcome, Marie.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
My name is Marie Sauser. I live on Worley Court. I live in the Stanton River District, and I have issues on my road. I have been, since the 80s, trying to get the state to take it over. I tried again in 2009, and then now the problem is the four-wheelers, the side-by-sides, the dirt bikes, and I called Mr. Hunt, it was the attorney, and he said it was nothing he could do for me. So then I called the state police. They said it was nothing they could do for me. So I called the sheriff's office, and they told me they were going to work on it and get back with me. Well, he got back with me the same day and told me the commissioner said that Worley Court is a public access road from Rock School Road to 29.
It is.
And so they went and notified Kenny Dean Worley and Pam Little because it's their grandchildren. And it stopped for a little bit, and now they turned around and put up these signs. They put up these signs that says private road, no trespassing on each end of the roads. And then I had a camera on the road. I could give a stamp. I could show them they were coming through there and everything. And so he took and dug a road next to the pond down in front of my son's house and around my house and comes out at his niece's house. And they're still tearing up the road. I have been putting gravel on this road for many, many years, and I just can't do it. So now he's done put in this huge mountain of this stuff off 29 where they were redoing it. I do not even think a fire truck could get through there. I do not, because Southside had to come and put his niece's
Power.
light pole up. And they had to come from the other direction because the pile was there. And I don't think it's fair that they keep doing things to do what they're doing and someone's going to get hurt. I mean, my mom was 80 years old. She could not sit on her front porch from the dust that those people were doing. And I just really wish you would take over my road. I mean, I've lived there 44
30 seconds
years.
remaining.
Please. I've talked to VDOT. I've talked to everybody. I don't know what else to do. That's all I have to say. But thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Marie.
ma'am.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Jim Scares.
Welcome, Mr. Scarce.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jim Scarce, and I live in the Westover District. Tonight I'm going to speak about the importance of electing people who have integrity and who are true to their word. Certain members of this board have put a lot of emphasis on reinstating the code of conduct for county officials, but it obviously doesn't apply to all the members of this board. Each member of this board, when sworn into office, took an oath to uphold and to defend the U.S. Constitution. On November 15, 2022, the former chairman and current Tunstall supervisor proved that he doesn't think that that oath he took for this office and the code of conduct applies to him. On that date, he violated my constitutional First Amendment rights, and in so doing also violated his oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution. For those that are not aware, I sued the Tunstall supervisor in federal court for violating my First Amendment rights. And this past July 18th, in federal court, a jury of his peers found him guilty. The jury deliberated for less than 1 hour before returning a guilty verdict. In letters to the editor for both local papers and on his Facebook page, Mr. Ingram made light of the guilty verdict, calling my lawsuit frivolous and joking that I was only awarded $1 in damages. I believe if you question any of the jurors from that trial, they would say that in finding Mr. Ingram guilty, they didn't think it was a frivolous lawsuit. Although there was a monetary figure attached to the lawsuit, money was never the driving factor or driving force for this suit. I agreed to accept the last settlement offer from Mr. Ingram's lawyer as long as it included a verbal and written apology. But his vanity wouldn't allow him to admit to his wrongdoing. In the end, a guilty verdict by a jury of his peers is better than an apology. To date, Mr. Ingram has yet to show any remorse, show an ounce of remorse for his unethical and illegal behavior that November day in 2022. His letters to the editor and continued inflammatory remarks on the Facebook page attest to that. My question for the other members of this board is, why do you have a code of ethics, and why do you take an oath of office when sworn in if you aren't going to hold those that violate them accountable for their actions? To my knowledge, Vic Ingram has yet to face any reprimand or negative consequences for violating his oath of office. He still sits on all the same boards and committees that he sat on before he was found guilty in federal court. How can the members of this board trust someone
30
who so
seconds remaining.
flippantly violated his oath of office to sit on any of these positions that are responsible for making vital decisions affecting the citizens of this county? In closing, I would urge the members of this board to remove Mr. Ingram from these positions of leadership and replace him with someone who knows how to honor their oath of office and who understands that as an elected official, you are a servant of the people, not a lord over them. Thank you for allowing me to exercise my First Amendment rights. And I would like to say one other thing in a different matter, if I could have just a few more moments. The vote that y'all are getting ready to take on the Berry Hill renaming project is going to affect all those people out there on Berry Hill in a negative impact, because they're going to have to change the addresses on every piece of legal document that they have. And have you contacted any of those people to let them know the impact that they're going to go through? Wouldn't it make a little bit more sense to name one of the roads inside the park that doesn't have a name yet, rather than disrupting the lives of everybody that lives on that road? And that's all I have to say about that. I would suggest that y'all postpone that vote until you notify the people out there of the impact that it's going to have on them. Thank you.
Ben Meeks.
Welcome, Mr. Meeks.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Ben Meeks, and I reside in the Gretna-Callens District. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I just wanted to come and bring attention to the fact that this board has been the most supportive board we have had for fire and rescue in a long, long time. You're doing a good job, and we're thankful for your recognition of Chief Neal and Jesse Yates, as though just those two men alone represent 100+ years of service to the county. The volunteer fire and EMS world is still alive and well in this county, and many localities can't say the same. I would argue that within the last year, communication, cooperation among the board, the Public Safety Department, and the volunteers have improved, and the service we can offer our citizens improves when that is taking place. And at the end of the day, that's all our citizens want, is help coming when they call. I wanted to give a few numbers tonight for the public's knowledge. From July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, per the County Public Safety Department's report, EMS agencies answered 9,986 EMS calls, first due EMS calls for service in Pittsylvania County. 7,700 of those calls were answered by volunteer EMS stations. Public Safety answered 2,266. Volunteer fire departments ran 3,445 first due calls, and out of those 21 volunteer agencies, 15 of them were 100% call covered for the year. Of the remaining 6, only 2 ran less than 80% of the calls they were dispatched to. Also, for those who are not aware, the federal government and the state of Virginia has changed the drug box requirements, and with new mandates, all of the 12 EMS agencies, including Public Safety in Pittsylvania County, has to build their own pharmacy room in their station, secure it, stock it, install tracking software, cameras, and obtain Board of Pharmacy license, DEA license, in order to continue serving the citizens. I'm proud to say, with the cooperation and teamwork of this board, the Fire and Rescue Commission, the Fire and Rescue Association, and the Public Safety Department, we have all of our agencies about ready and applying soon. Some already have their licenses to be able to meet the strict deadlines given by the federal government. And I will say the state has moved that deadline up by 2 weeks to allow for any issues in between. I want to thank the board for approving $160,000 to help purchase equipment needed to make these required changes possible. And I want to thank all the volunteer agencies that have spent countless hours working on making these changes happen and spent their own department funding. I'm trying to get a total for you all, but right now I haven't even finished all the agencies, and I know we're around $70,000 they've spent on their own money in order to meet these requirements, and there will be more to spend. In closing, gentlemen, you have a gem in the rough here with your volunteer agencies.
30 seconds
and we're
remaining.
working hard to continue to provide the much-needed care and coverage this county requires. As Abraham Lincoln once said, next to creating a life, the finest thing a man can do is save one. And this is not something we should give up on. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ben.
Vanessa Scares.
Welcome, Ms. Scares.
Hello, everybody. I've not spoken since April, so I just wondered if I get those 9 minutes. No, I'm just playing.
I doubt it, no.
But Chairman Dalton,
You get two.
I would like to ask you if you'd give me mercy for maybe an extra minute or so tonight, if possible.
I'll be generous, but
Thank
keep
you.
it short.
Thank you so much. So here we go. My name is Vanessa Scares, and I live in the Westover District. I'm here tonight to address a subject that I would then like to put behind me. There are no words that can describe how a wife feels sitting and watching her husband be led away by law enforcement and treated like a criminal for trying to speak his mind in a public hearing. Some current board members were present on November 15th, 2022, and sat by quietly, I believe in shock and disbelief, and did nothing to prevent Mr. Ingram from taking my husband's First Amendment right away from him that night. They were therefore exonerated from the case, and the sole responsibility of the actions taken were laid to rest on the shoulders of the one that did wrong. You have already heard tonight that Mr. Ingram was found guilty in federal court by a jury of his peers for the choices he made that night in November. I left the federal court last month feeling like a black cloud had been lifted from over our lives, and I felt really encouraged that right had won over wrong. It seemed very important to me for right to win because of the current environment that we find ourselves in. This world, with its dual justice system, its government power overreach, and media censorship, it's difficult for any citizen to make a decision these days with the deception that abounds in our world. You see, we live in a world where disagreement has been labeled as hate speech, when maybe it is truly just loving confrontation. Truth does demand confrontation. I was blessed to be raised in a family where if I did something wrong, I was made to go to that person and apologize. I mean, I remember times when I was told, go back and say you're sorry again, and this time say it like you mean it. Anybody know what kind of raising I'm talking about there? That's the way I was raised. So I want to ask, whatever happened to responsibility for your actions? Maybe apologies need to be made before you land in court. You know, this might save you from living through the consequences of past mistakes. Because mistakes, just like votes, do have consequences. But I do realize if there's no consequences, how do you even learn? I love Pittsylvania County. This has been my home for my entire life. And I feel blessed to have been born in the United States of America, and I think everybody here does feel that blessing. But this fight for our right to free speech pales in comparison to what our founding fathers sacrificed for us to have the freedom to speak. I'm glad to have had a small part in making sure that future generations can enjoy the same freedoms that we have enjoyed. I hope that the next generation will do a better job than we have and admit when they're wrong. Go to their brother, point out their fault between the two of them, and make amends. I hope we can put this behind us now, but it totally depends on the future actions of the guilty party. Because surely by now Mr. Ingram has learned that the Scarce brothers have not mastered the art of turning the other cheek. After all, leadership should start with those that consider themselves to be leaders, which I would think would include elected officials. Leaders should be held to a higher standard. So now, let's put this issue behind us and begin to focus on what's going on in our country and pray that we will again be known as one nation under God. I think we need nationwide repentance for the division and the lawlessness that is in our country. We need to unify and pray that the truth will break through the enemy's attempt to mislead and discourage citizens, and they're just trying to keep people from voting this November. It's time for us to pray for a resurgence of energy for the Christians to rise up and vote and encourage other people to vote. And it's time for every American to sit down and reflect on how do they define freedom. Because our nation is literally hanging in the balance. So let's be part of the solution and not part of the problem going forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Thank you, Ms. Garrison.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else?
That's all.
No. No one else has signed up, but is it anyone in the audience that wanted to speak that didn't sign up? All right. Not hearing them, we're moving on to item 10. Thank you. Pursuant to Article 5, Division 6 of the Pennsylvania County Zoning Ordinance, the Board of Supervisors have been empowered to hear and decide specific zoning issues and zoning map changes in support of said ordinance. In accomplishing this important task, the Board is responsible for promoting the health, safety, and general public welfare of the citizens of Pennsylvania County. The Board must ensure that all of the decisions and regulations be directed to those goals and each be consistent with the environment, the comprehensive plan, and in the best interest of Pennsylvania County, its citizens, and its posterity. In case R24-013, Ms. Ragsdale. Welcome.
Case R-24-013, Aaron Tooley has petitioned to rezone 3.85 acres located on State Road 992, Homestead Trail in the Dane River Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow for a private recreational facility event venue. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. On July 2nd, 2024, the Planning Commission recommended by a 6-0 vote with opposition that the petitioner's request be granted with the proffers offered by the applicant. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Aaron Tooley is here to represent the petition.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ragsdale. Do you have anything you'd like to add, ma'am? Do you have anything you wanted to add to what Ms. Ragsdale just said?
I didn't know if this was the time to kind of share why we want to do what we want to do.
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's what he asked. Yep.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My husband and I and our 4 sons have been in Virginia for 5 years. When my family and I saw this 120-year-old farmhouse last August, we fell in love with it along with the property and the outbuildings. For almost 2 years, I have done traveling tea parties around the area where I take the dishes, the linens, and the tea treats to someone's home or their church or facility. As we toured this property last August, I could just imagine having tea parties on the front porch and the back deck. I love bringing people together and love to use our property as a way for families to celebrate together. We were told by the Community Development Office that to do anything on our property, we needed to be rezoned to A1, and so here we are. On our street, there are 40 homes, and 11 are already zoned agricultural. All I'm asking today is for us to be one of those, to be the 12th home on our street. We have added proffers for our rezoning, no alcohol, no events after 10, as well as keeping within the noise ordinance in hopes to be as good of a neighbor as we can. We live on this property, we raise our boys on this property. At the Planning Commission meeting in July, I gave my card out to all of our neighbors that were at the meeting and encouraged them to please call us or email us with any questions. And another gentleman also said that he would get the names and numbers of our neighbors for us. I haven't gotten that yet. But the proffers were put in place after the meeting in June to help alleviate any concerns that our neighbors might have.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
At 8:17, open the public hearing in case R-24-013. Ms. McCluster, we have one signed up.
Yes, sir. Daniel Gussler.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Daniel Gussler. Me and my family live at 741 Homestead Trail. For those here tonight that may be unfamiliar with Homestead Trail, it is a quiet, family-friendly neighborhood with a narrow dead-end road less than a mile long. 40 homes, all full of blue-collar, hard-working men and women, working class, want to relax after a hard day's work. Many families like myself work swing shift or are up early 4 to 5 a.m. Several families are not represented in person here tonight due to work. These families are represented by signatures on the petition that I brought to this panel tonight, with over half of them from Homestead Trail alone. Of the 40 homes, I was able to make contact with 36 homeowners, and 35 readily agreed they do not want to live beside a venue. I've heard many different concerns from all of these people, mainly from fear. Fear of losing privacy, fear of theft, traffic, noise, trash, property values, adequate facilities, the list goes on. Or the fear of long-term effect, not tea parties, but are we getting into weddings, graduations, loud events? This is not a large property. This is 3.8 acres in a residential neighborhood. My personal property borders the Tuoleys on two different sides. My house is only 120 feet away from the Tuoleys' property line. And an existing structure that was considered by the Tuoleys for event usage is only 30 feet from my property. In addition to the fears above, my biggest concern is the complete loss of privacy during events, as the Tuoleys' backyard faces my house, my front yard, and my driveway. They have a gazebo designed for events in the backyard, so it would be devastating for me to live and deal with this every day. Imagine 75 people staring at you trying to live your life and not being able to get away from it. If you live on Homestead Trail and are here tonight, please raise your hand. How many of you would like to live beside a venue? None. In closing, I encourage every member of this board tonight to look at these people here tonight that live in this neighborhood, whose lives and homes will be drastically changed for the worse if this venue is allowed.
30 seconds remaining.
And choose to deny this property from becoming a nuisance to this community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else signed up, Mr. McCluster?
Deborah Dockery.
Welcome, ma'am.
My name is Deborah Dockery, and I, too, live across from the property that wants to be rezoned. And from the beginning, I have been against this, and I continue to be against this change. We live in a quiet, small neighborhood. There's only 40 houses on our road. Like he said, it's not even a mile long. She has mentioned that there are 11 properties that are already agriculture. But if you'll go back and look, the ones that are agriculture, there are not 11 homes that are agriculture. It's just a lot of land. So I don't feel that our road can handle what she's asking us to do. They've said that that they would have 25 cards at every event. Well, this keeps changing. From the beginning, it was going to be tea parties. We've talked about an event. We've talked about just having a gender party. I don't have a problem with the birthday party. I don't have a problem with the tea party because we've all had them. But we didn't ask for our property to be rezoned. I think if we let them do this, we're going to see a lot of change. They did not get the grant that they asked for to change the barn into a venue, but if you change this land to agriculture, the next time they try to get that grant, is it going to go through? I'm concerned about that many cars coming down our road. We're talking about a little road. I don't know if anybody's been on Homestead. We don't have lines on the road. You have to get over if you want to let somebody pass you or somebody just come on. The speed limit is 25. If you have somebody come on our road, you've never been there before, do you know that road is 25? I still think we're going to have a problem with children are playing in the roads, animals are running wild. I don't want to see a catastrophe, and I know that she doesn't want to see that, but I've lived in this neighborhood for almost 40 years, and I want it to stay the way it is. I want to continue to have a nice, quiet home. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have anyone else signed
That's
up?
all, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. At 8:23, I'll close the public hearing in case R-24-013. Mr. Height, the pleasure is yours.
Before I make a motion, for some unknown reason, I seem to be getting all of these challenging rezoning requests. And this is a challenge because what Ms. Tooley wants to do, it wouldn't destroy anything, but.
Mr. Hyde.
But I've got to listen. I need to listen to everybody in that area. And I will agree, Homestead Trail, I didn't realize it was 25. I'm surprised I hadn't got a ticket every time I've been down there. Because trust me, I go faster than 25 down through there. But I did not know that was the speed limit. I just think if we approve this, Ms. Tooley and them, if y'all are called to another area, this property has been rezoned. The proffers, I've looked at the proffers, but still it's going to follow that property. And I think it would just probably be too disruptive to the neighbors around there. I've got to think about everybody on that road, not just one family. I've got to think about everybody. So in case R-24-013, I make a motion to deny the rezoning of 3.85 acres from R1 Residential Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District.
Got a motion by Mr. Height, second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Ingram. Any further discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So before we take the vote on this, I'd like to ask Ms. Tooley, have you had a chance to talk with the neighbors about this before actually applying for a rezoning and actually coming to some kind of agreement? Has that ever been done? Please.
When I applied for rezoning, I guess back in April, I'll just be very honest with you. I really had no idea that tea parties would cause this much upheaval. So no, I didn't. The neighbor next door to us did sign the petition, but she has now told my husband and I that she is completely fine with tea parties and small events at our house. This is not going to be an every weekend, all the time thing. This will be, someone books a tea party for 12 people and they come to my home and I have all the scones and sweets for them and they spend 2 hours on my front porch. This is not a crazy, wild, loud, the people that do tea parties are the sweetest, quietest people. It's just a time for friends together, and I wanted our home to be a place for them to do that. At the July meeting, I did talk to the neighbors that came to the meeting, and I apologized to them, and I told them I'm sorry that we did not come to them first. I really never in a million years thought it would cause all this. I really just wanted the opportunity to be able to make a little extra money at our home, and I love dishes, I love baking, and with this old farmhouse was a great opportunity for that. The barn will not be used for parties at this point, it's too expensive. And so it really will be on the front porch, the back deck. The property behind us, if we're at the very back of our property, which we don't even go on because it needs to be mowed, is where we can see Mr. Gessler's property. We have a ton of trees between our barn and his house. The lady across the street from us is all for it. And so, yes, there are some people against it, but there are other people that are totally okay with it. This is not going to be an upheaval. This is not going to be wild, and it's just going to be a sweet time for friends together. My normal tea parties are from 12 to 20 people. This is not, it might be 5 cars.
So, and I hear what you're saying. So do you think that maybe inviting your neighbors, since you all live together on that same street, inviting them over to, one of your parties just to kind of give them an idea of...
That was the plan if it passed tonight before the next vote, because this is just the rezoning, and then I've got to do the special use permit as well. That was the plan. And they have to know too, I have 4 boys. This is not my life.
Mm-hmm.
My husband took one to soccer tonight. He took one to tennis tonight. Our life is crazy. And so this is something extra on the side. So yes, that was in the plan, and actually we had hoped to do it on a couple Thursdays ago, and that was when we had the big hurricane come in. So anyway, that is the hope, to do that if it were to pass. But this is not going to be wild weddings or anything like this. This is small events for people to enjoy their friends.
I understand, and that's the reason I asked you the question here, because once we take the vote, and in fact, if this fails, then it'll be a year before you can come back to the board again and even reapply for this. So I guess my question is, and Mr. Height, he's already made the motion, it's been seconded, is it worth tabling until, say, next month and let her see if she can work with her neighbors there to see if that's something that they can come to agreement on? Just my thought. Because I think she may have got the cart before the horse. And I'm not saying on that street there that, and I agree, it may not be loud, rauncous parties or things like that, but maybe sometimes it's just educating your neighbors as to what you really want to do. And they may come back and say, no, still we're against it. Or you may convince them that this is not a bad thing.
I was at the first planning commission meeting when this was brought up, and a lot of folks were there opposed of it. And after the meeting, I believe I encouraged you and your husband to talk to the neighbors. That was in July, right, or June? Was it June,
It was
I believe?
June and July.
It was June the first time it was presented. They tabled it and came back in July. So I mentioned it, I know I said it to your husband, I think I may have said it to you, about talking to the neighbors. That was in June. Has your husband or you, have y'all went knocking on doors?
We did back in June. Yes, we did. Did we hit all the houses? No, we didn't. I do wish we had gone back and done things differently. I will say this summer, my husband's a children's minister. We had VBS, we had camp, we had mission trip. So this summer's gone. And that is part of the reason. But we did talk to a lot of neighbors in July at that meeting. And we're able to talk to them. And most of them at that point said they were fine with tea parties.
But the proffers says you can have up to 75 people. And it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't say just tea party. It's 75 people up to 10 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I just, you know, if you're doing tea parties and you said 20 people, but the proffers have up to 75. I can tell you right now, if my neighbor wanted to rezone and have parties up to 75 people, up to 10 o'clock at night, I would be upset, especially if I work swing shift, you know, because you just, you know, that it can be disruptive. If you get 75 folks there, there's going to be noise.
So when we met with the city lawyer and a couple other people in June about the proffers, that's what they recommended. So that's why it's on there like that, that if we wanted to have an evening dinner party or something like that, we could. The main thing will be the tea parties. But one thing they recommended was that I don't box myself in with so many proffers that we couldn't do anything else. Okay. And y'all, I'm really trying to do this the right way and go through the zoning and be upfront about it. You know, there was an auto shop on our property for years before we bought it that was not zoned. And so I almost feel like we're getting punished for trying to go about the right way to do this. Yeah.
If I pull my motion and give you another month, will you try to go talk to your neighbors? The rest of them, you see the ones that are here tonight. Talk to your neighbors. See if y'all can get some sort of common ground. I mean, I would love to make everybody happy. But, you know, I think if y'all try, maybe they can understand more of what your goal is. You know, I'll be willing to pull my motion if you'll promise me that y'all will go. I'm not going to make you. I'm not going to hold anybody's hands, but I want you to meet, invite them over to have tea, and try to explain to them. I'll give you another month to try to work something out because y'all are neighbors. Y'all have to live beside each other. You've got to depend on each other. And I want that neighborhood to be able to depend on each other. So, I'll be glad if if the board would allow me, I'll pull my motion for tonight, allow it to come back next month, but I encourage y'all, sit down face to face and try to work these things out. You know, we had a speaker earlier tonight. She talked about working things out. Try to work these things out. Because I don't want to be the one to have to decide, save the baby or save the bathwater. I don't want to be that person. I will if I have to, but I would prefer y'all to be able to come to a conclusion and a remedy. So if the neighbors would please, if they reach out to you, please talk to them and let us revisit this next month.
Mr. Height, you want to go ahead and change your motion to postpone?
I'll change my motion to postpone it till next month's meeting.
Okay.
We've got do you need to take
Mr.
this one
Ingram,
off,
second.
Kaylin?
Give me just a second.
You want to second that, Mr. Ingram, again?
I will.
All right, we've got the motion by Mr. Height to postpone it until next month's meeting. We have a second by Mr. Ingram. Any further discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Tucker.
With all due respect to everyone to come in and speak in opposition, from the window that I sit and look out of, it's painful to see citizens that have the entrepreneurial spirit. They come and they want to start a business in Pittsylvania County, and we say that we're business friendly. And we say that we are good neighbors. But yet and still, when someone wants to start a business, now something as innocent as a venue or tea party type of business, for the life of me, I cannot understand why we have such opposition against that. I'm sorry. You can say that I'm parochial, but the truth is the truth. And sometimes I think we're just throwing roadblocks up in the way of individuals that want to start their own business. I have no problem with that. And, you know, and I have no problem with saying that I am not going to capitulate to sometimes the loudest voices, because the loudest voices are not always right. Okay? So I feel bad for this lady. I don't know you, don't know your issue and what have you. But I say to those that are listening to us by way of Facebook, I say to all of us in the audience, that if we're serious about economic development in Pittsylvania County, if we're serious about growing our county, if we're serious about being good neighbors, good stewards, and business friendly, we're going to have a paradigm shift and rethink a lot of things that we think we know at this juncture. Because what we know might comprise one good book. What we do not know will make up the remainder of the library. So I'm going to support postponing this, and I'm going to tell you, going forward, you know, and to give everyone in the room pretty much a bird's eye view of what goes on behind the scenes. This board, based on the support of the supervisor in that district, will either support or reject some of these zoning cases, okay? And we have to get away from that. We have to start doing what's right, okay? And I believe that that's the direction that we have to go in. And that's no disrespect to any of my my colleagues on this board, that sort of thing, but we need to start voting our heart and our conscience and think about what we're doing and make sure we're doing the right thing.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may. I think there's some proffers there. Emily, is that correct, that they have agreed to? To me, proffers is honestly trying to work with folks, bending to make things work. You want to come up here and give us those proffers that have been, because I know the Planning Commission with a 6-0 vote in favor, even though it was opposition, does not necessarily mean that it's the wrong thing to do. But yeah, there's a list of proffers, and they are all in front of us.
Mr. Dudley,
Yes, sir.
can we explain to the audience that proffers are
Yes.
concessions that are made by the individual that's asking for the permit? Am I not correct?
That is,
That's
yes,
correct.
yes.
So these people have already made a lot of concessions
That is
just
correct.
to try to move forward.
And the reason I'm saying that is trying to work with somebody, and I'm leaning with what the Planning Commission did say, but in this case, if we're going to postpone it for a month, we'll allow it to be voted on next month. And thank you. Anything you'd like to add to it, Emily?
Not unless you all have any questions for me.
Okay. You can have these back. Thank you.
We're good. No.
Thank you,
We're
Mr.
good.
Chairman.
Thank you.
That's a long list of them. You can email them to us if you like. How about that?
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further comments,
Thank you, Eddie.
questions? Good. All right, we got a motion and a second, so we're ready to vote.
I don't have a vote in front of me.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes, that was to postpone, correct?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. My vote is yes.
All right, motion carries unanimous. Moving to item 10B. Each person addressing the board under the public hearing shall step up and give his or her name and district and his or her place of residence for non-county citizens in an audible tone of voice for the record. And unless further time is granted by the chairman, shall limit his or her address to 3 minutes. Speakers for the group should be limited to 10 minutes. Speakers shall conclude their remarks at the time, unless the consent of the board is affirmatively given to extend the speaker's allotted time. Absent chairman approval, no person shall be able to speak who has not signed up. We have a public hearing for FY24 county budget amendments. Ms. Van der Heide.
Yes, tonight's public hearing is being held to consider some budget amendments that are needed for FY 2024 year end. These are budget amendments that are necessary to finalize our year, to make sure all of our departments are showing in the black. And so we duly advertised this public hearing in the Star Tribune for 2 weeks prior. The last running would be the first week of August, to make sure that we met with the requirements. And tonight, these budget amendments total $6,414,169.42. And so after hearing public citizen input on our amendments or proposed amendments, you all will be able to vote, and FY24 should be finalized as far as the budget is concerned.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Van der Heide. At 8:44, I open the public hearing for the FY24 or 2024 budget amendments. Do we have anyone signed up to speak?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
At 8:44, I'll close the public hearing for the county budget amendments. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
You have your motion to approve the
I
amendments?
sure do, yes, sir.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Ingram,
Second motion.
second by Mr. Tucker. Any further discussion? None, we're ready to vote.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, motion carries unanimous. Moving to item 11, do we have any unfinished business?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hunt. Moving to item 12, our new business. I think we have an item 12A that we added.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I have that.
All right, Mr. Ingram.
All right, yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-08-04 in support of the naming of a portion of the new Berry Hill Connector Road as presented, and I have some pictures and some comments. So that's my initial motion.
All right. Motion by Mr. Ingram, second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Whittle. All right, any further discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I think this was to be discussed during close, and we pulled it off of that. And for your edification, me and Mr. Tucker had a conversation about this. This is the first that I've seen of this. I would have rather had been more clear about it, to take it in close and to discuss it. I think it's fair for the edification of the board for everybody to really be up front and know. And this, Mr. Tucker, you told me this has been going on and it's been worked on for a good while. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ingram, I serve on the RIFA board, and Mr. Ingram is the chairperson of the RIFA board. And yes, what the RIFA board is attempting to do is to celebrate the Honorable Sherman Saunders and also Mr. Coy Harville in terms of their service to their individual communities. But they served on the RIFA board from its inception. And, and I heard, during public comments, but as I understand, we've tried to allay the concerns of the community and those residents that live on that road by only changing a portion of the road and not just doing the entire road. And listen, that's not a hill that I'm going down. I don't have a problem with, renaming that street there to honor those that have made the contributions necessary for our Berry Hill Mega Park, and they've put in the blood, sweat, and tears. Aside from how you feel about it, but it is a situation wherein we live in a society, we want instant gratification. But it takes time over the years. There's a lot of decisions that go into having that type of investment to start paying off or getting some returns. The Research Triangle then in Durham, North Carolina took about 25, 26 years. The Research Triangle before it started landing industry in that park. So I don't have a problem with that. I think the other board, you have to make your own decision. Again, Mr. Saunders is still alive and living and well, and I would like to honor him and salute him while he's living and can appreciate it. We know that Mr. Carville is packed up, going upstairs and be with the Lord, but we can also honor him. Aside from how you feel about him, everyone is not supposed to be judged on one situation, one scenario. You can't throw out a body of work that they made and contributed over a lifetime of service. So that's where I am. I'm going to support the motion.
Yes, sir. And
Thank you,
Mr. Ingram, for that, I'm not necessarily against it. I would have liked to have clarification before we come out here and discuss it. How about that? I'm not on RIFA, so I don't know the clear of it. So,
Well, let me continue and make my presentation.
yes, sir. Help yourself.
Go ahead, Mr. Ingram.
Yeah, when I asked to have this put on the agenda, I think it was you and another member that asked to talk about it in closed session. You didn't call me. You could have, but you didn't.
Yep.
So having said that, that's why I made the motion today that we bring it before the public and air it and talk about it. So there's some already misunderstanding or intentional misleading already been shared tonight. But if you look at this map up here and you look at the new connector road that goes from the 265 bypass over to the mega park, which is under construction right now, that new part of highway, the state is going to put a new number on it. It's not going to be 311.
Mm-hmm.
It will be 311. And so we have that new connector road running into the existing Berry Hill Road, which is Route 311. we have to name highways for our 9/11 system. So that's another reason that we had to do this. But if I may refresh your memory, Mr. Dudley, this came up 2 years ago, and the timing wasn't right. So I talked with Mr. Warren, and we pulled it back and decided to readdress it later on. But in regards to what was said tonight about neighbors, if you take time and you go out there and look at where this roadway is, where it connects with the Berry Hill Road, and when it goes south toward North Carolina, there's only two houses, two residential houses. One of them is vacant, and the other one is a rental. And once we move forward with some RIFA plans, that will probably be another vacant house. So there's no residents that's going to be affected by this. The two men, I did want to take a moment and talk about them because they're honorable men and they deserve good things said about them because of what they've done for us. But Corey Harville is one of the two men that we're going to look at naming this road after. And it's a naming, but it's also a renaming, okay? And so Corey Harville died August the 9th of 2022. He was a Navy veteran, worked at Goodyear for 32 years, and was on this board for 16 years and chairman for 6 years. He was a past chairman of the MPO, which is Metropolitan Planning, RIFA, as well as the Pennsylvania County Service Authority, and a lifetime board member of the Danville Lifesaving Crew. He was very instrumental in starting the River Bend Fire Department, and he was also instrumental in starting RIFA, and that established the mega park at Berry Hill. His colleague, Sherman Saunders, city councilman, who is a Ringo native, by the way, and I told him just the other day, I said, you might live in the city of Danville, but your roots are in Pennsylvania County. He served on city council from 96 to 2000, stepped down and was reappointed in 2001 to replace Danny Marshall, who took a job at the House of Delegates in Richmond. Sherman was reelected in 2004 and serves to this current time. So that's a total of 27 years of service. He's ex-director of Community Action, RIFA, Pennsylvania County Economic Development, the Chamber of Commerce, just to name a few. So when you look at really what this is all about, and the fact and the irony of this is how Danny Marshall stepped off city council and Sherman Saunders was put in his place. It was Danny Marshall that secured the money to build this connector road to make easy access to what we soon to hope will be a very dynamic, thriving mega park. 3,500 plus acres, by the way, and we get interest all over the country, and that's as far as I can say about that. But these two men, it was their dream and their vision that brought this to where we are today. According to most standards, you cannot honor somebody that has not been dead at least 5 years. Corey, like I said, he passed away in 22. But there was three options, and we chose the third one, which gives the county the option to pass a resolution to name this parkway in honor of these two men that have done so much for this county. And so I wanted to cover with you the support that we have in this project. 2 years ago, as I said, we made a motion through RIFA. The Danville City Council passed a resolution to support this. Danville City Council, once again, as well as RIFA, issued resolutions in total support of this. Frank Ruff, who is the ex-senator, was replaced by Tammy Mulchy, sent me an email and says, thank you, sounds very fitting. Tammy herself sent a very nice letter here, and I'm not going to go into reading it, but the letter says, I feel this would be a great honor in memory of the late Corey Harville and Sherman Saunders, the founding members of RIFA and the Mega Park. And finally, a joint letter from Delegate Danny Marshall and Delegate Eric Phillips, who both absolutely support and concur with this resolution.
I'm good with that.
I'm a big proponent of honoring people while they're here because once they're gone, it's only family and friends that's left behind that can say anything nice about them. And sometimes people struggle even to do that. But I did want to make this resolution, or offer this resolution, because the time is now. This new connector road will be opened, looks like in October, ahead of schedule. It has to be named, and I've got some additional pictures I want to show you, but I want to reemphasize that it is not going to affect anybody from the north of where the connector road comes into the existing Berry Hill Road. And once the connector road hits the existing part of Berry Hill, all the way to the North Carolina line, it will be hopefully referred to as the Harville-Saunders Parkway. At that intersection where the two meet, going back to the north to 58, that's where the residents are. And 2 years ago, we found out that that would affect them, and that was very much consideration. But where we're looking at now, it don't affect them, and it won't hurt them at all. So, Mr. Chairman, that is my motion to pass this resolution to name the connector road and the southern part of Berry Hill Road, 311, in honor or in memory of Corey Harville and honor of Sherman Saunders.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Mr. Bowman, do you have a question, sir?
I do, Mr. Chairman. So I appreciate that, Mr. Ingram, and I want to make a substitute motion to that. And I agree with what Mr. Dudley said there. This is the first time that this board has seen it. It may have been talked about for a couple of years, but I went to the past RIFA meeting, and I think this was talked about in closed session, if I'm not mistaken.
It was open session. You were there.
Well, that's what I want to remember that. So was it at the beginning before closed session or after the closed session that came out? I don't remember.
I don't recall. I just remember you were there and we talked about it.
That's correct. So this board and the public are just now finding out about that. So
that is not true.
Nope. Mr. Ingham, please. I didn't interrupt you.
We'll tell the truth.
I'm just saying, okay? Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind. So what I'm saying here is I'd like to propose that this be tabled till September and give everybody, the public and this board, some time to digest this. And the reason is during the past few years, 4 or 5 years, there's been a lot of citizen complaints about renaming things. And it's because a lot of buildings, whether it's school buildings, they don't like the current names of the school buildings, so they want to change them. It's military installations. They don't like the names of military installations, so they change them. So I am a big proponent on not naming anything for people. And I appreciate what they did for the mega site and the leadership they took. But I'm not for naming anything after somebody, whether they are passed or whether they're still living. I think there's a way to honor them, and it should be something maybe inside the mega site. So as roads are developed, maybe you take an individual road and name it after Sherman Saunders. I love him to death. I've been knowing him for many, many years. And Coy Harville, so they could have their own dedicated highway in there. So that's what I'm proposing. As we wait 30 days, we think about this, and the urgency, I think, if it's been going on for a year or 2 years or whatever, it can wait 30 more days before we make a decision on it. So that's my substitute motion.
Well, let me add to that. As I said, this highway is ahead of schedule. It would be opened in October rather than November. And if you're going to name a highway, if you're going to have any kind of service, you need to make plans of preparation very much ahead of time. And taking your motion would throw it very much behind schedule. There's people that are already making plans if it becomes a possibility. So, Mr. Hunt, I heard this counter motion, and I do want to...
Mr. Ingram, Mr. Chairman,
yes,
may
sir.
I?
Well, let me finish what I was saying,
Okay.
Mr. Tucker. You know, we submit to you guys, the chairman, vice chairman, and you, what we would like to have on the agenda, correct?
That's correct.
For the upcoming meeting. And I asked that this be put on the agenda, and nobody told me, but it was taken off and put in closed session. So I made a motion at the start of our work session to let's go ahead and put it back on the agenda where everybody can hear the comments that are made, good, bad, or indifferent. So that's where we're at. So I would appeal to my colleagues to let's honor these two men and move past this.
Mr. Dahl.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Mr. Tucker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We discussed this. In fact, I added it to the agenda at the RIFA meeting. I made the motion, and it was seconded by Mr. Lee Vogler. And we had a pretty unanimous vote to do that. You have two motions on the floor, neither of which have a second. I'm going to second Mr. Ingram's motion, and I'm going to support it.
Mr. Whittle
Oh,
seconded
he
it.
did
Yes,
second
sir.
it? Okay.
Mr. Whittle
All right,
seconded
good
his
deal.
motion.
So I'm
We
ready.
got a substitute, but I don't
Right.
have a second for the substitute.
Exactly. So we have a substitute motion on the floor. You need a second and then any discussion. If it fails to get a second, that motion doesn't exist. If it does get a second, you have to dispense and vote on the substitute motion prior to going back to Mr. Ingram's original motion. So the question now is there a second to Mr. Bowman's substitute motion?
All right, we got a substitute by Mr. Bowman. Do we have a second?
Okay, motion fails for lack of a second, so now Mr. Ingram's original motion, which has been seconded, is open
Yes.
for discussion and then potential vote. And Ms. McCluster, it might be best for you to read that back to the board so they know what they're voting on.
Yes. We have our motion and a second.
Correct.
No further discussion, so, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ingram, do you want to repeat that motion? You have that, I believe.
Just as I read it before?
Yes.
Okay, I make the motion that we approve resolution number 2024-08-04 in support of naming and renaming the new connector road and the Berry Hill Road to the Harville Saunders Parkway. That is my motion.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. Ingram, second. Second by Mr. Whittle. I think we've had all the discussion. If so, we're ready to vote. I don't have anything, Ms. McCluster.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Mr. Bowman?
No.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes. Motion carries 6 yes, 1 no. Moving on to item 14, our board members' reports. Mr. Height, I'll start with you, sir. Do you have anything you'd like to report on?
Just like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, supporting those folks that were recognized tonight. That's the part of this that I enjoy.
Yes, the best
I
part.
can't say that I enjoy anything else. But I enjoy recognizing y'all for your accomplishments, so please, if you're in my district and you're having a great accomplishment, let me know. That's all I got, Dan. I'm ready to go
Thank you,
home.
Mr. Height. Appreciate it. Mr. Tucker, do you have any comments, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much. Good meeting. Thank you for your leadership. To the staff, thank you all for putting everything together and making us look good. To those constituents within the Bannister District, please reach out to me. My cell phone number along with my email is on the county website. You should have it. When you start talking about box stores, if you're talking about the Sam's, the Walmarts, that sort of thing, that is not a political move. It is not something that we can just wave a magic wand. That's a mathematic equation. They use something that we used to use in school years and years ago. They stick a pen in it, and they put that pencil and they draw a circle around that pen where they really want to put that store. And you have to have so many rooftops. You have to have so many houses there. You have to have so many people within that circle. And then they count the traffic on the thoroughfare to make sure that it is economically feasible and viable to be there. But I'd be glad to talk with anyone one-on-one There are some things that we are looking at for the Bannister District economically, but it has to make sense, and the investors are going to want a return on their investment. We just can't have a hope, wish, and a prayer list. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Mr. Dudley, everything, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much. Gentlemen here on the stage, thank you all for, sometimes it's contentious, but at the same time, we're still taking care of business. I want to thank the folks for coming out. Young lady that came, Miss Souser, that is a tough situation. She's an absolute trooper on trying to get something done. She's basically, through the years, had to maintain the road on her own because nobody else will. And now people are tearing it up, and she's still the only one that wants to do something with it. And I want to thank her for coming. Hopefully, somewhere down the road, we can do something to take care of this problem. A lot of times, if it ain't yours, you don't care about it, and you'll tear it up. And I just want to thank Miss Souser for coming out. She's been a tough one. She's been rough on me at times, and but that's okay. That's what we're here for. Yeah, it makes us better people, and we need to know what the folks need. And we can't meet every need, but she's been very persistent. She's been here several times since I've been here on the board, and I just want to say publicly thank you. Hopefully, somewhere down the road, we can do something. I commend her for that. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Sometimes during our meetings, we get a little crossed up, and I'm just looking for communication and clarity on subjects that come up. Don't want to die on certain hills. So just want to thank everybody for coming out and appreciate everybody being here. It's not easy sitting up here making hard decisions. Mr. Height, you was in a bind tonight, and I understand. I've been there. I have been there. I was on the Planning Commission 5-6 years, and I never forget my first time on Planning Commission. It was when Mountain Valley Pipeline first started coming through, and a guy had actually charged. That was when we was in the courtroom, and he charged the front. And I'm like, oh my goodness, and everybody says, welcome to the big leagues or something like that. But anyway, thank you all for being patient, for coming out, and thank you again, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Day. Thank you. Mr. Whittle, everything, sir?
Just thank everybody for coming out. Thank the board. Thank all the staff for the help they give us. And everybody have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I get 2.5 minutes of Mr. Whittle's? Thank you.
You get 2 minutes. One of them's already gone.
He just yielded to me. Okay. I'll make this as quick as possible. So, attended the Economic Development Training at the Institute July 25th, hosted by Southern Virginia Regional Alliance. Those folks put on a great meeting there, so kudos to them. Attended the annual Tomato Festival at Yates Tavern, hosted by Pittsylvania County Historical Society. If you've never been to those, you need to go. They have some great tomato sandwiches. You got to go there. Held 2 beautification meetings this month in preparation for the fall countywide cleanup to be held, make a note on this, public, Saturday, October the 5th from 9 to noon. The Board of Supervisors will be voting on waiving the landfill tipping fees at its September meeting, and citizens will be allowed to take large hauls such as building materials, tires, tree limbs, cuttings, paints, oils, etc. to the landfill during the week of September 30 through October the 4th, and the tipping fee will be waived. On the tires piece, you got to make sure the tires are off of rims, so don't carry tires down there with rims on them. They will not take them. Since we now have a beautification committee, it has been decided the cleanups will commence and end at a central location in each district as follows. Again, make a note on this. So at the Bannister District, the Gretna Volunteer Fire Department will be that spot. Callens Gretna, it's the Gretna Volunteer Fire Department. Chatham Blair's is Mount Hermon Volunteer Fire Department. Dan River, Ringgold Volunteer Fire Department. Stanton River, we haven't figured that one out yet, so Tim, maybe you can help there. Tunstall is
Might have to get
Broswell
on by
United
myself.
Methodist Church, and Westover is Walker's Restaurant. And the committee has challenged the members of the Board of Supervisors to participate in the cleanup in their respective districts. Each one of you have a person now identified, so get with that person there and kind of work with them leading up to the October cleanup. Recognition and prizes will be presented to participants at the November 19th Board of Supervisor meeting. Also attended the Community Day at Mount Hermon Volunteer Fire Department and Touch a Truck event at Chatham Middle School. Both were on August 17th. Excellent job, Dean. You know, great job out there also for what y'all are doing. Attended the RIFA meeting on August the 12th at the Institute. Met with Lieutenant Governor of Virginia Winsome Sears while she was in Chatham on August the 2nd. And also for the public, beware of the mass casualty training exercise scheduled for this Friday, August 23rd, at the location at Unique Industries in Blair's. There will be a number of emergency vehicles located within that area, so plan accordingly. There may be some traffic diversions, things like that. But remember, it's only a training event. It's not a full-blown emergency, okay? And I plan on attending that event there. And again, thank you to all the first responders in preparation for Hurricane Debbie. A great job. I checked in with Dean. Thank you out there with Mount Hermon and also with Chatham to make sure that they had everything they needed. So kudos to those folks for standing by. Luckily and fortunately, we did not need them. Finally, have a safe and enjoyable Labor Day weekend, and we'll see you in September. Mr. Chairman, thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Mr. Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, tonight there were some people that were recognized that were more than worthy. Ms. Niels, I think she's left, but has such a beautiful legacy, and she's done so much. The Dan River High School baseball team, it's sort of tough being a Tunstall graduate to say that, but congratulations to those guys. But if y'all notice, we had a room full of heroes in here. Volunteers that don't get a penny for their sacrifice, the time that they dedicate to serve others while they're away from their families, often at their own expense. So when people start to slander and badger and talk bad about volunteers, fire and rescue members, I take high offense to that. And I will always have your back no matter what I face with those that have another agenda to push. But Dean, you're here. You know what I'm talking about. And you guys are priceless. We have over 600 volunteers. So what if our volunteers all of a sudden woke up and says, you know what, I've had enough of the criticism, of the complaints, of the whining, and I'm just not going to serve you. Well, do the math. Times it by about $46,000. And I forget how many billions or millions rather, that it would start at costing this county. So you talk about the taxes being high, it would drown us. So anyway, I was very touched by the turnout for Mike Neal. He's done so much for so many people. And Mr. Yates likewise. And so having said that, Mr. Chairman, I don't think there's any doubt that I'm very passionate about my volunteers and always will be because we can't live without them. So having said that, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. I agree with all the comments that was made tonight. I ain't gonna speak long. Mr. Bowman took part of my time. No, I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and thinking about the people we recognized, Mike Neal, Mr. Yates, Miss Dorothy Niels. We had a Dan River High School that Mr. Height recognized. Just all great things, great people for the community. I thought it was pretty neat. I had the opportunity to attend the open house of the Hammocks Dairy on August the 9th. Man, they have a great operation. If you don't really know the process of getting your milk and making ice cream and all that stuff, you need to visit up there and look at their operation. It's a first-class operation. They're a first-class family. I mean, it's probably 3 generations there working. They're hard-working people. I'm proud that they're in my district. And if you go to any of the local Kroger or Harris Teeter's, you supporting all our local dairies in Pennsylvania County. Not only you supporting the dairies, you getting some of the highest quality, best milk you probably ever put in your mouth. I mean, they producing the top of the line. Again, I'm glad they're in my district. I appreciate them. They're just a wonderful family. Again, thank everyone for coming out. Be safe on the way home, and we hope that we'll all meet again next month. Thank you. Mr. Shorter, do you have anything, sir?
Actually, just a minute. Since our last meeting, we had the remnants of Tropical Storm Debbie come through, and I just wanted to publicly thank all of our first responders, fire and rescue, sheriff's department, our public safety department, public works department, and there were employees in other departments as well, but I just wanted to publicly thank them all for doing what they did during those conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Shorter. Mr. Hunt, you have anything, sir?
No, it was a good meeting tonight. Let's go home.
Thank you, sir. Meeting's adjourned.